noises where they're like argumental pointing. That's my opinion. Most of these webtoons I have not read in literal years, so my memory is going to be very sparse on some of them and very detailed on others, but we'll go through. I'll do my best to try to give you the general plot, maybe throw in some spoilers. I'll warn you of them though, just to warn. It's like, you'll be fine, I'll let you know if I'm gonna spoil. But with that said, let's get started. So for the first webtoon I'm going to visit today, it is My Boo, and this webtoon has such a special place in my heart because it is one of the first ones I ever read, and it's the first webtoon that ever made me cry. So basically, My Boo has the female lead who can see ghosts for whatever reason, because she's never liked the ocean, because when she looks out on the ocean she sees like a sea of all these ghosts, like all the dead bodies in the ocean, and so that plagues her, and then she runs into a ghost and ends up falling in love with them. I guess that's the general plot of it. And honestly, it, like, still, I think about this webtoon constantly. Like, I shouldn't say constantly, but I think about it all the time. It is the one plot that has really, like, stuck with me. Just like, oh, like my heart genuinely feels things when I think about it again. So I do recommend it if you want to cry. It had me bawling, and I gave it an 8 out of 10, and my description is short and sweet. And then I wrote that it made me cry, but I won't go more in depth on that because it is a spoiler. But honestly, if you want something that is a good read, it's nice and short. It doesn't have too many chapters, if I remember right. I don't know, less than 40, I think. Maybe even like in the 30s, maybe. But so good. Made me sad, but happy, but sad. Next, we have My Dear Cold-Blooded King. This is a classic. This is such a classic. And I honestly do not remember the plot of this. It is a, I think a Chinese historical setting. So a manhwa, but like with a U instead of a W, because it's a Chinese comic. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But basically, it is a historical webcomic, and that's what I got. I don't remember. I think there's like maybe a fake king in it. Maybe. I don't know, but I'll read you the description I have. I gave it an 8 out of 10. That's a pretty high rating. I did enjoy it a lot. I don't know if I'd rate it that high now with some of the webtoons I've read and like genuinely thought they were like masterpieces. But this is the description I wrote. Kind of messy plot, but it got spicy at the end, so that was kind of fun. So that's my summary of it. Honestly, it is probably one of the most scandalous, at least this was years ago. At the time, it was one of the most scandalous webtoons on the platform because they don't allow like spicy content on there. They only like hints of it. And that one was like, they were doing things. So, I did like it, and I recommend it if you want something that's kind of like ridiculous and there's action and fantasy and throne dynamics. The next one we're going to talk about is Freaking Romance. The author on this one is really controversial, I'm not gonna lie to you, but if I remember right, I think it's getting an adaptation. I don't know if it's an anime, I don't know if it's like a TV show, like a drama or anything. I genuinely don't know, but I think I heard that it's getting a adaptation. Anyways, it was kind of bland. It was an interesting plot though. So basically, the family lead lives in this apartment, and then she's able to see this dude who is in an alternate dimension living in the same apartment, basically, and that's it. So it's like a star-crossed lovers interdimensional love story thing, and it's kind of interesting. I'm hesitant to recommend it because, like I said, I'm not too familiar with the author. Okay, but I do know that they are more scandalous, so that's that. It is interesting, and that's all. Sorry, that kind of looked like what they did all the time in My Dear Cold-Blooded King. Next one is Siren's Lament. Miso, and for those who are familiar, if you know Eternal Nocturnal, which is like her newest, like most completed, I think, yeah, she just completed it like very, very recently. I haven't finished reading it yet, but she completed it, and I really do need to finish that. I don't have that many chapters left, but same author, she also wrote Where Tangents Meet, I believe is the name of it, and I loved this webcomic. I loved Siren's Lament, and Lyra is the female lead, and I don't remember all the plot points because it's been a few years, but basically she is somehow gets turned into a half mermaid thing where she's able to turn into a mermaid in the water, basically think H2O but like not, and then like walk on land, and she does that with this other dude who was a siren, and now he's able to walk on land, and in the hot water back and forth they like did a little switch thing, and it is so good because like this other dude and her have like such a like fun like friend dynamic rather than like romantic partners, which is really, really cool, where it's like this other main character isn't exactly the male lead, and there is a male lead in it though, and he's pretty cool, but anyways, very interesting. I don't want to spoil it. There's like a very like, the ending is crazy, like blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, that's what's going on, that's what this is. And the journey is basically her trying not to be a siren anymore, like, so she doesn't have this problem, I believe. And the thing is with the sirens is they also lose their memory when they turn into a siren. Anyways, I don't want to spoil too much, but it is a 10. I gave this a 10 out of 10. I think it is the only 10 out of 10 I've ever given any webcomic. I think I would change that now, because there's some that I haven't like completed yet that I've loved. Not change the review of this, but I think there's some that like I would give this high of a review. But I love this. I love it. I highly, highly recommend it. If you want a really good plot, you want romance, you want a fantasy, like interesting plotline thing, it's so good. It is worth using Daily Pass on WEBTOON. Like, highly, highly, highly recommend it. So good. The next one is a really popular one. It's an oldie but a goodie. I say that, but I don't have the highest review on it, but it just wasn't exactly for me. And this is Devil Number 4. People love Devil Number 4, and some people like think it changed their perception of how they view love and love dynamics and stuff, and I think that's wonderful. So basically, the female lead has this devil, this demon devil thing, and he's supposed to, like, he's basically kind of like a Grim Reaper, where he's supposed to like get her soul or whatever, and he ends up falling in love with her. Just like, so sweet. But I gave it a 5 out of 10. I actually gave it a 4 out of 10 initially, and I changed that tonight looking at it. I'm like, it was not a 4 out of 10. There's like, it was not that bad. Maybe even a 6 out of 10. But it was short and very meh, and it came out of nowhere and wasn't even logical. That was my summary on it. But honestly, it's a classic. I won't say not to read it. People are gonna recommend it. People love it, love it, love it, love it. But not my favorite. But I do recommend it. Maybe, perhaps, mayhaps. Another one is Age Matters. This is the same author of, I believe, Hello Baby, which I don't know if it's ongoing or not, because I was reading it and I just like, I haven't dropped it. I just never went back to it in like maybe a year. So it could be completed for all I know, but Age Matters has this green-haired female lead who I can't remember her name, and she works for a company. Daniel Kong, is that his name? I think that's the male lead. Maybe. Or Kang. What's his name? Maybe it's Daniel Kang. Is that his name? No, maybe that's not his name. Who's Daniel Kang? Is a South Korean singer, songwriter, actor, television host, and businessman who rose to fame in early 2017. It's the first place winner. Wow, first place of Produce 101. Oh, he's from 101. In Age Matters, she works for him. And are they neighbors? Maybe they end up being neighbors. I don't remember. No, maybe she house sits for him. Maybe she house sits for them, or is a maid or something. How did that work? and then they mingle, and she is like a decade. It's like an age gap thing, and I think she's like a decade older than him or something. Which honestly questionable in my opinion. I don't like age gaps personally because I power dynamics, but that is what happens. And this one does have a special place in my heart because I read it I binged it, I believe, at the end of 2020, in October 2020, which was like one of the lowest points in my life. And I did like it, and it has a special place in my heart because I gave it an 8 out of 10. I said it's cute, but the ending is it was a little rushed in my opinion, personal opinion. I felt like it didn't flow quite right, and they tried to add like a last minute plot point at the end, try to do a last minute give a little drama, and I just don't think it really worked. So that's sad, but Age Matters is pretty good, and I would recommend it. I feel like I say that about a lot of this, but you know what I don't say this about? To Love Your Enemy, which is our next one. And this one, I feel so bad because I loved this one. I loved this webcomic when it first came out. And it is an enemies to lovers, which is like my favorite trope ever. I love enemies to lovers. But obviously it's in the name, and the female lead goes to the same college as the male lead, and I don't remember how they end up not liking each other, but they don't like each other. They turn to lovers. That's all I got. That's all I got. I think there's a school trip, and there's something they cooked together. They had a cooking thing. Maybe that was a bonding experience. I don't know. And that's kind of how they started canoodling. I didn't know as a grown woman I'd use the word canoodling, but yeah. So here's the thing. This is a spoiler, so be prepared. Skip to the next thing if you don't want to hear this. But in this one, there's a cult arc. A cult arc. And when you hit the webtoon, it goes downhill. And I loved it up until this point, until it hits there, and then it turns into a dumpster fire. It is a mess. It is a mess at the cult arc. And then the ending is the most rushed ending I think I've ever read in any webtoon ever. It seemed like it just came out of nowhere. You were expecting, oh, next week I'm gonna read, this. And then it's like, wait, is this the last chapter? Wait, really? It's so rushed. So disappointing because I loved it, so I gave it a 4 out of 10. And it could have been like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. If the cult arc wasn't in it, I bet it'd be an 8 out of 10. It was just so disappointing, such high potential, and this one, I don't even know if I should mention it, but I will talk about it, and I can decide in editing if I want to keep it in or not. But the next one I'm going to talk about is Ecstasy Hearts, which is the only webtoon I've ever completed and given a 0 out of 10. I hated this thing. I hated it. And I'll read my description. A waste of money, a sexualized minor, not even a single likable character, side plots that lead to nowhere, and an abrupt meh ending. But at least the art was well done. And basically, it is a romance sports thing involving tennis, and this the female lead's family. She is 17 years old, and she is shown in very explicit and talked about in very inappropriate ways for her age, in my opinion. And this is just my opinion. And there's characters that are in 16 years old with a 22-year-old or whatever, 23-year-old. I don't remember their exact ages, but it's just not good things. And maybe it can be a cultural thing. Maybe I don't do age gaps, but that's I think that's the big G. I think that's the G word. ING. But I did not like it. But basically, the female lead is the daughter of a rich family of these tennis stars. Her parents are two top, the best tennis stars in the world. And she's this tennis champion, and she's trying to win a championship or something. And this other guy ends up playing tennis, but he's dying, he's got a brain tumor or something, and is only given a few months to live. And that's how it kind of goes. And a spoiler alert on this one, if you want to read this one, don't recommend it. No offense, peace and love to the author, but the ending is kind of interesting because you don't get to find out whether he lives or dies, which I do think is an interesting thing. So that's that. Anyways, moving on. The next webtoon I have is The First Night with the Duke, and I have such mixed feelings on this one. I gave it an 8 out of 10, and that is because it has the absolute best protagonist in any webtoon I've read. That's like what I have in this. Ripley, like the female lead. She's funny, she's witty, she's a little clumsy, she doesn't take herself too seriously. The decisions she makes are absolutely unhinged and ridiculous. I would even like put her up there. People say that Miss Not So Sidekick, that the female lead in that is like one of the funniest female leads ever. I think Ripley is like right up there. Like Ripley's so funny. And then it gets ruined. So then there's the Duke. I think his name's Siren, something like that. And I want to punch his blonde head. Like I shouldn't say I hate him, but I do hate him. And I've talked about this before, not in here. Like I've mentioned it on TikTok before. And then like people were out here like, why do you hate him? And it's like, why do you not hate him? So here's this. Basically, this is gonna be a spoiler, but also not really. Okay, I'll start with chapter 1. In chapter 1, the whole thing that is named after The First Night with the Duke, Ripley ends up getting inebriated, like blackout, and at a party, and then she wakes up in the bed of the Duke. The Duke was sober. Yeah. So that's already the first issue, and I believe in the novel they might have been both inebriated, or like she was able to consent, like she wore off or something. Like I don't remember, but I think there's a reason that in the novel it's better than in the actual like webcomic. Not too sure, don't quote me on that, but anyways. So that's the first thing, but here's what I wrote. This is where we're gonna get into some spoilers, so skip ahead if you don't want spoilers. Okay. So the Duke, he threatened forced marriage upon Ripley, manipulated her, and took advantage of her when she was inebriated. So that's what I have on the description. He literally tries to manipulate her into marriage and threaten her into marriage and say, I'll kill you, I'll force you to marry me, and all this stuff. And it's like, girl, what? And people like love them, and it's like, and here's the thing, I read all the side stories. I don't always read the side stories afterwards. I read all the side stories on this because I love Ripley, but the whole time it's like, I want to punch you, I can't stand you every time I saw the Duke. So I have such mixed feelings because I really love this webtoon. I love it so much, but proceed with caution is my thing. I do recommend it, but proceed with caution. The next one I have is Let Me Stay Over Tonight, and I don't remember this one whatsoever. I gave it a 6 out of 10, and what I wrote is I really liked it. It had so much potential, but only had arcs, and then an abrupt ending, and it was just disappointing. So I guess it has a higher review than others, but it was like so short, and I can remember I read it, I think summer of 2021, but like, can I tell you what it's about? No, but I can tell you I read it while sleeping on a concrete floor in the basement for like a week. That's a whole nother story. Maybe I can make a video on that, but I binged a lot of webtoons that summer. Like my whole summer I spent just reading all day long, and that was one of them, and I just, it was okay. The next one is Reunion, and this one is so like wholesome. There's actually not a lot of romance, even though it's marked a romance, but the author does not like specialize in romance, and I believe they were, or have already, I'm not sure, made, it was like the prequel to the main story they wanted to write. This was like the first dabble in romance, and then the main story is like action, and I believe it's a mafia story. I love a good mafia story. I love, like my favorite webtoon at the moment is Mafia Nanny, but it's not completed. Anyways, we're gonna keep going. But I shouldn't say that. I guess Purple Eye Cynthia, this is also another one of my favorites. But anyways, so Reunion was cute. And the description I wrote is 7 out of 10, a little dry, not a lot of romance, but I'm excited for the real story. But here's the thing, I don't remember. I don't remember what happens in this. So from my memory is a mafia story, and she somehow involves herself with this guy. Maybe they were childhood friends. Maybe it was the childhood friend trope. Possibly. But it's second chance love, I believe, as well. I don't know. There was a club scene, and people. Oh, maybe he's not in the movie. He's an assassin family or something, and yeah, I guess he is kind of mafia. He is a superhero, but he's rogue. He helps, quote unquote, helps at night, but it's illegal or something. I don't know what it's called, but it's good. It's wholesome. That was a terrible description. Next one is So I Married the Anti-Fan, and this one I gave a 7 out of 10. The female lead were enemies to lovers. I always love. Well, it was actually enemies to friends to lovers. And this one does have a K-drama adaptation if you're interested. I have not seen it. But also, I don't remember the plot very well. Basically, this is what I can tell you. The female lead is an anti-fan. She does not like the male lead. She can't stand him. She thinks he is a garbage man. Not a garbage man. We love garbage man here. She thinks he is a trash, not a trash man. He is the garbage. He is the trash. Okay. And so she goes on a rant, maybe even on TV, and says all this stuff, or maybe it gets filmed by a fan, and then she gets hated on. But then I believe they go on a TV show together, her as the anti-fan, where it's the anti-fan, and then the celebrity or something go on a TV show together, and they bond. And I don't remember it very well at all, but I gave it a 7 out of 10. And here's the spoiler part. Okay, once again, skip ahead. You don't want to be spoiled. The thing is, they didn't get together until literally the last chapter, maybe even 2 chapters. So you're mainly reading them as friends. It is a slow burn, but there's almost no payoff. And if that's not for you, I'm just gonna let you know that kind of takes me off. I like seeing them. I like seeing them mingling as a couple. Not that makes me sound like a pervert. I like seeing them together, their couple dynamics. I like seeing them be flirty and in a relationship in a safe for work manner. And you just didn't get that with this one, and I didn't love that. But anyways, we're gonna move on. So next is, this one is a special one, and there's a reason why, because there's a little twist, and it is so, people talk about this all the time. It is nice to meet you. It's very wholesome. It's very cute. It irritates me a little bit because I feel the female lead's a little naive for her age, especially in college. I don't know. Can you be naive in college? Of course. I was naive in aspects in college too. But yeah, this one is special because you have in order to know why it's special, you have to know the ending. So skip this one. Again, if you want to read it, I gave it a 7 out of 10. It's cute, but mainly the points there are for the ending. Besides that, it's kind of just personal opinion, but it is wholesome. So the ending, ready, here's the spoiler. She ends up with the second lead, right? But not fully. So you don't really it's a will they, won't they sort of thing, and who you think the male lead is kind of rejects her, and then ends up not getting with her because it was right person, wrong time sort of thing, a wrong timing thing, and he had to reject her. So they end up not getting together, and then he wants to get together with her, and then she, his best friend and roommate, wants to get together with her. He ends up catching feelings with her, and you think she's gonna go with this guy, who you think is the male lead, and then you find out the chapter a year later or 2 years later or whatever, that she is dating or going on a date with the second lead, and that the other guy's aside, which is crazy. But it's still kind of ambiguous where they're not together, I'm pretty sure. And it's more so she's gonna work on herself, and I love that it's I'm gonna work on myself, I'm gonna choose a decision that's best for me, which I think is really, really cool, and it was really really interesting twist and ending. So I do recommend it for that aspect. It's really unique in that regard. Like I said, the plot to me personally is just a little like, you know, it's college students, just, you know, it's a very generic personal opinion, but that aspect of it is like so good. Okay, this one is probably one of the most iconic ones on this list. It's one of the more recent iconic ones, and it is Marry My Husband, which I gave an 8 out of 10. Honestly, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, so here's the thing. Stephanie Sue, if you want to like learn a very good like explanation of the plot, Stephanie Sue did a series on the K-drama adaptation of this. I'm not going to be talking about the webcomic because it is not the same exactly. There's like some differences, like how the female lead dies, and like there's like an extra character for sure in the K-drama. Like things are different for sure in the K-drama versus the web novel, but it's the same generic story. So if you don't want to see that, highly recommend Stephanie Sue's video. She did a great job talking about it. I personally haven't watched the K-drama. My mom did, so this is kind of just going off of what I saw aspects of it or heard from my mom, because she knew that I read the webcomic, but she didn't. So like it's exchanging of information. But basically, in the webcomic version, which is what I'm talking about today, because that is the premise of the video, is the female lead, who I can't remember her name. It starts with a J, I think. But basically, the female lead is Lim. Is that her last name? No, maybe that's her last name. What's her name? I don't remember. Anyways, so the female lead has cancer, and she is dying, and so she is in her deathbed, essentially, at the beginning, and this is the beginning of the story, and she ends up having to go home for whatever reason, and she catches her fiance, her good-for-nothing fiance, in bed with her best friend. And I can't remember her name either. Stephanie calls her Stacy, but she keeps her names the same, and Michael, so I think it's Minchel and Suman, maybe, I think are their names. And then she ends up dying by her fiance kills her. Like, he pushes her into a dresser, but in the K-drama he pushes her into a table, I believe. And she dies first episode. And then she goes back in time 10 years, and then is able to like plot her revenge, which is really cool. It's like a time travel. There's an aspect with that which I will not talk about. There's like a twist with that I will not talk about, but it is good. My one big critique is, at least in my opinion, in the K-drama, in the web novel, is towards the end. It gets a little slow. It gets a little trying to get to the end. But once you get to the end is so like, the end is so well done. I loved the ending. A lot of these I go, the ending's rushed, blah blah blah. This one was so satisfying. This one was so like, I loved the ending of this. I loved how there was like full on, like, I don't know. It was just nice to see. But anyways, so Marry My Husband, it's a really good revenge story. It's one of the like best revenge stories I've personally ever read. So I do recommend it. And it is highly reviewed for a reason. It's worth it. The story's really good. The next one I have beef with, and it's called Wavering Worlds, and it's marked as romance, and it should be a drama. So I gave it a 4 out of 10. It's really short and sweet. But basically, the female lead, is there even a male lead? Like, I don't even know if there's a male lead. Like, that's how, there's like friends. It's like, these are the friends, the real journeys, the friends we made along the way. But it doesn't matter. So she ends up switching places with her alternate reality version of herself, who seems sweet. She seems like, oh yeah, we'll switch things for a day just to try it. Turns out she was tricked, she was bamboozled, and she can't go back home because that girl switched places for a reason. There's a secret, a suspicious secret that she uncovers in the other world, and it's nefarious. But that's that. Didn't love it. Wasn't really a lot of romance. The plot twist wasn't really like a twist to me. but that's just my opinion, personal taste. Didn't love it, not the best. The last webtoon I'm going to cover today is True Beauty, and this one's iconic. This is the first webtoon I've ever read. I remember I read the very first episode when it came out. I saw it all over Instagram being like advertised, promoted, people talking about it, and I was like, okay, I'll read it. And if I never read True Beauty, I don't know if I ever would have gotten to webcomics and Manhwa, and now it's like one of my favorite things in the entire world. So I do owe True Beauty a lot. I've talked about them before on this channel when I talked about story and character X, which is why I have these. But the female lead, this is the male lead, this is the second lead, who he comes in the story like later. But there is a K-drama adaptation of this, which is pretty good. And there's an anime which I have not seen. I actually didn't finish the K-drama adaptation of this. It is ridiculous. It is unhinged. It has the typical K-drama tropes. Almost a lot of them. I won't say every one of them, but a lot of them. And it's ridiculous. And I do appreciate the story for what it is. However, I give it a 6 out of 10 because the message of the story gets muddled. And a lot of people say that makeup remover does what True Beauty was trying to do, which is like the real beauty comes from the beauty within. That sort of message. But instead, True Beauty doesn't even like cover that. Basically, the female lead is what is considered naturally ugly, which she's not even ugly, but like people are like, she's bullied, she's made fun of, she has acne, and yeah, she gets made fun of. She learns how to do more makeup well, changes schools, stops getting bullied, people are nice to her, and that's that, and she becomes like a beauty YouTuber. My phone ran out of storage while I was talking about True Beauty, I'm so sorry. But basically, it's messy, it's all over the place. You get introduced to so many characters because it goes on for like 200 and something chapters. I didn't read all the side stories, I did read it until completion, but it is a classic story. And a lot of people say, okay, I think that's where I left off. A lot of people say that, what is it called? The makeup remover is like, delivers that message better because it doesn't like until the very like end of the webtoon does that message kind of get pushed out, and it kind of gets like overshadowed. It's very like short section of it. There's so many other arcs and plot things that happen that is like way more focused on than the actual like point of the story. But if you want to watch that, read that, I guess you can watch it since there's the K-drama and the anime, but if you want to read that, go for it. It's long, it's drawn out, it is a classic. You see a lot of all the tropes, so many tropes in this thing, because it's so long, but I do kind of love it. I gave it a 6 out of 10, but it is my first one ever, so it has a special place in my heart. I didn't finish it, minus the side stories, but I do think it's worth the read if you like a love triangle. It's a fun little love triangle. I don't love them that much, so that might be affecting my opinion, but here's the description I wrote for it. So I give it a 6 out of 10 since it is my first webtoon ever, and it is the first one that got me into reading them. I have a soft spot for it, but it was just prolonged, messy, and didn't hit home the message it was trying to deliver. So I don't know if I should read that part. It's that's what I have. That's all the webtoons I have. This is me signing off. You're welcome to stop watching now. Just gonna quickly throw out there, if I seemed all over the place in this video, it's because I am. This is the first video I filmed in like a month, and I'm coming back and feeling a lot better about filming. I still pushed this video off for like 3 hours. I've been ready and then just didn't film, and then I tried to film this yesterday and I didn't do it. So I'm still rusty and I'm still getting back into it, but I am so happy that I'm actually like enjoying making videos again. So please be ready. I'm super excited. If you want to see more like manhwa webtoon videos, I do have a playlist of that, including some roleplays, and I do have the next part of that roleplay planned for next month. Fingers crossed, because I said I'm not gonna see that many roleplays that I much anymore, but that one I genuinely love doing that roleplay. less role plays, still some, but so much more to come, and I definitely want to incorporate more of my like interests in anime, webcomics, maybe beauty. I'm not great with beauty, but I do love a lip tint, which I do want to do a video on. So anyways, if any of that interests you, good. God, maybe I should just end this outro. With that said, I hope you are having a wonderful day or night, depending on whenever you're watching.